Okay, so I want to show you how the GrassFlap's installed on a Hustler Surfer Pro. There's the GrassFlap down here. This particular unit is driven with a hand lever. It's pretty straight install here. The hand lever is bolted to the side of the mower deck onto some existing bolts that are here. You see these two guys are already here, so we just use the bolts along with a couple of spacers. Cable routing is straightforward. We're going to route the cable down along and zip tie it to where existing cables are already routed. Runs down the side of the machine, over here across the front of the mower. And we use a zip tie up here on this crossover bar for the deck lift assist. And then the cable just runs on across to the GrassFlap itself. Now we want to go ahead and connect the cable. So this is just a standard hand lever install for connecting the cable. First thing we're going to do is pull the rubber boot off, spin the first nut off the fitting, and spin the second nut all the way down onto the fitting. Then we'll go ahead and slide the cable into the slot, push the fitting up into the hole provided, spin that jam nut number 1 onto the fitting as far as it will go, push the rubber boot back in place. And then we're going to go ahead and put the removable clevis onto the end of the ball. We're going to put the slotted side toward the inside of the handle. We're going to go ahead and slip the pin in. And I've found the easiest way to do that is to grab it with a pair of needle nose pliers and reach back behind it and push the pin into place. Now that we have the pin installed, then we're going to put the cotter pin in. And again, using the needle nose pliers to kind of hold it as you split the cotter pin and wrap it around each side. Now we're going to go ahead and install the flap itself. To get started, we're going to install the deflector angle. So this deflector angle goes at the top of the flap and even on either edge. We'll apply the deflector angle using the double-sided tape already on the angle. This is pretty aggressive tape, so make sure you get it in the right location you want it to start with. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and set the GrassFlap onto the mower itself and install the bolts for that. So the mount with the spring on it goes on the front side of the mower deck, on the front side of the tab. We'll insert the 3/8 bolts provided. We're going to run these down, but we're not going to tighten them up. We're just going to get them so they're snug. Now we'll go ahead and put the rear mount on. This goes on the back side of the tab. We'll run the nut on, and again we're going to run it down so that it's just short of being snug, so we can make our final adjustment and then tighten everything up. Okay, now we want to make sure that the flap is against the side of the mower deck, so I'm going to press it up there. I'll go ahead and run these bolts down tight. On this front one, you want to make sure that it's more or less level, so the spring mount's got a straight pull on it. Now that we have the bolts tight, the next thing we want to do is go ahead and connect the spring mount. I found a pair of channel locks, grabbing the open end of that loop and pull it into position onto this bolt. Now that we have that in place, we're going to go ahead and install the cable. So once again, we're going to pull the rubber boot off the cable, spin jam nut number 1 off the fitting, set jam nut number 2 about halfway up the fitting, slide the cable into the slot provided, spin jam nut number 1 back on and snug it up, push the rubber boot back in place. Now we're going to go ahead and install the clevis pin. So there's a little brass bushing, 1/4 inch. It goes in the hole first, and we're going to take the clevis, and it's going to straddle that brass bushing, and we'll put the clevis pin in. The head of the clevis pin goes on the same side as the spring. Then we'll put the cotter pin in place here. Now, we'll make sure before we leave that we snug the jam nuts up on the flap itself. So the last thing we want to do is go ahead and verify the operation. Pull and release the handle to close the flap. Pull and release the handle to open it. And then you can go ahead and put it in a partial open position with the notch on the handle. So there it is, GrassFlap installation on a Hustler Surfer Pro.